So I got another package from Mike over the weekend. I decided to go ahead and get the motor plate and the rear plate from him. I think that goes like that. These are the last two pieces to make the full frame set. Originally I had machined this back bracket myself, and a couple of the registration points, like this is a little bit too close here compared to that side, and it worked and stuff, but he's done a lot of work to figure out the positions. I assume these are for when I want to change the size of the teeth, make it easy to switch that around. Another thing that I've been having problems with is I'm running 3S in here, and these 540s that I had, this is the PH. The PH is like 12 volt max, I guess. There's another one, maybe it's like an SH, and that one's supposed to be 12 volt nominal. This is not that. So after a few runs, one of these started smoking a little bit. It still functions, so I suspect that inside of there you kind of see some little blue and green things. I suspect inside of there is a capacitor, probably burned out, or maybe there's a brush that kind of burned out a little bit. So a little bit of shopping has led me to find the 550. This particular 550 is a little bit longer. It's just a tiny bit bigger in diameter, but the mounting holes are the same. It has this reflux, I think it's called a reflux core around it. It helps keep magnetic field centered around there. And then I also found some heat sinks on Amazon that I'm going to add to. So I'm going to move all that over next. Get that all mounted up. One last thing that was pretty weird. I had gotten what was labeled as 6mm lathe rod, and when I take my 6mm bearing, it does not really fit so well on that. When I originally put the gearboxes together, had to do a little bit of light hammering. You can see that kind of bent that bearing in a little bit. Not super excited about that. Have just recently switched back to an ABS case for this. So I've split two plastic cases here. So I think the ABS is going to stick together a lot better. And I found another set of rod. So this rod here actually fits the bearing on. Amazing. So I'm going to bang apart the rod here, and I'm going to rebuild that. Since this was all pretty press fit, I didn't have to use a spacer in there. I think there's some 3D printed spacers that Mike uses on Thingiverse. I'm going to try to get a measurement for that and just cut 2 of those on the lathe, just so I have a nice spacer. I don't have to worry about it melting or anything in there. And then on the worm gear, I didn't actually have to use a spacer in here yet. I found the spacer on my plastic PLA copy. The spacer right here was the only one I installed. After spinning it at a fairly high speed, that started to melt a little bit. And in addition to splitting the case, when that melted, it gave me a little bit of play forward to backward in the worm. And that meant that I could actually move the worm when I turned the axle. So that was all not very good. I might look to make a spacer for that as well on the lathe. But right now, this doesn't seem to need it. This all snugged up pretty tight in ABS. I'm pretty happy with it. There's not a lot of backlash in the worm. So I'm going to roll with that for now. So I'm going to take a little bit of time, get that put back together, get the electronics mounted back up, and get the body reattached. Hopefully get this thing driving in the next video. Thanks for checking it out. Peace.